Hi Dan.
Hey.
What happens first? The name Putumayo or the concept?
Well, wow. Basically, I was a Latin American studies major in college. So I traveled to South America to visit the countries I'd studied, went to a little village in the Putumayo River Valley in southern Colombia, fell in love with the handicrafts of the village, Indian population that was doing all kinds of crafts, and I decided to open a little shop called Putumayo. It was clothing, handicrafts. I played music that I brought back, but it really wasn't an idea of doing a record label. And years later, in 1991, I heard an African group performing in San Francisco, and I fell in love with the music. I went back to New York and thought I'd really start putting some music together in one of my stores, and people loved the music. I said, I think I should start a record label. So it was not really Putumayo connected with the record label. It was really more Putumayo connected with the handicrafts. I continued the handicrafts, and then kind of it changed into music.
And many years after, we could have a different point of view about it. It's at first maybe the record label is in mind. But do you think that the things you found in this Putumayo place are still the things you carry on in doing your business as you do it?
Well, I tell you, I believe that there are certain things that are created that help people rise above their problems. If you think about the music that comes out of places like Haiti or the Congo, places that are troubled, poverty, disease, war, the music that's created helps people rise above their problems. And so in the Putumayo Valley, very poor, mostly, indigenous people, farming. I showed up on Carnival, during the Carnival celebrations. They were all putting on their clothing. And I remember sitting by the side of a river that leads into the Putumayo, looking out, birds were flying around, beautiful birds. It was a beautiful day, sun was shining, the Andes Mountains in the distance, and I felt like all was right with the world. And I think somehow music has a way of capturing that kind of magic moment. It's distilled into something that is very kind of powerful and uplifting. So what I've tried to do with Putumayo is somehow capture a feeling that I had that day of just, it's, wow, this is beautiful, this is special, this is something that is uplifting, and music can be uplifting. So hopefully the music we select can have that effect.
So today you're very well known by doing by music lovers, by doing very good compilations about very sharp subjects, or very as I don't know, jazz in the world, or French songs. Many. How do you choose first your subjects, then after the track listing?
Well, it's an interesting process. We have several people helping for a long time. Jacob Edgar, who now has a label called Kumbancha, has been helping me put the music together, find it. We have a database of about 30,000 songs that we've collected over the years, and about 10,000 that I personally really like, that we feel like, have potential. And so the themes, pretty much either I will decide or I'll kind of ask my staff, well, what do you think about this idea or that idea? Just this week, we started working on 2011. So I put a list together of titles that we've talked about or that I thought would be good, about 30 titles. And then I sent it out to 30 themes, sent them out to my staff and asked for feedback. So I listened to the staff. Then when it comes to the music, we go through the database and then we reach out to labels. Sometimes we travel there, whether it's, we've been to Turkey and Italy and the Dominican Republic and Cape Verde, and ideally if we can, we try and travel there in addition to getting the music from the labels and what we have in the database. Sometimes we can't. And then I narrow it down to usually about 30 songs, 40 songs that I'll play for the staff, maybe 50 songs. And then from that playing to the staff in Europe, in our Dutch office, in the US, in New York, And in New Orleans, where I live now, after all that comes through, I get feedback and I say, well, they like it in New York, in Holland, in New Orleans. I like it. So I put it for licensing. And then at the end, it has to fit in. So sometimes a track doesn't fit in, even though it's a good song. So I spend a lot of time working that process, you know, resequencing, picking songs, dropping songs, and just trying to create something that is more like a musical journey. And hopefully it's an enjoyable musical journey.
Yeah. You also have a very important image by doing very beautiful, colorful cover. It's always the same person who do it. What is your story with this person?
Well, her name is Nicola Heindel. She's a British illustrator, and she happened to be a friend of mine. The woman that used to actually do our displays for our retail stores. And so one day my friend said, you know, actually, step back, I was in London and bought a greeting card that was illustrated by Nicola, and I had it on my bulletin board in my office. This was probably 1991. And when I was starting playing music in the stores, and I saw the feedback, I said, you know, I should do a collection, and I need somehow to do a cover that would be pretty, that people would like, that would somehow connect with the culture where the music was from. And while I was thinking, like, what am I going to do? I'm going to take a picture, it's going to be a photograph, or maybe I can get an illustrator. All of a sudden, this woman comes in and says, this friend of mine from London is coming in a few days. Do you want to meet her? And I said, yeah. And she came in, we met, had a really nice time talking, and I asked her to do the CD cover for the first CD. Everyone really liked it, and I said, wow, this would be nice to have somebody who creates the identity based on her illustration style, kind of connects the traditional and the contemporary, and evokes the feeling of the culture in a kind of naive art way. So we're happy that, you know, she's been doing this all these years.
Do you know how many drawings she did for you?
It's about 160.
160. It seems like a full-time job to work for you, because you have many records a year.
Well, she's a mother. She has 2 kids. She also does a little private work for herself. And we're working on books and other projects with her. So it may become more full-time, but, you know, she's really good at, I mean, we work very closely, even though she lives in London and I'm in New Orleans, and we go back and forth. Luckily with the internet, it's so easy now to really communicate. But she works, I don't know if she works full-time, but probably half-time.
Everybody's talking about record crisis from a lot of years now, and when I saw you, you seems to be quietful, and you have a large smile, and you're still doing many records a year. What is your point of view about the crisis and the things people should think about to go further?
Well, I think my perspective on music is there's very little in life that is more enjoyable than listening to music, and you can do it all the time. Whenever you feel bad, you can put on a CD and feel better. If you go to a psychologist or a psychiatrist, you pay 75, 150 euros to help you feel better. And it only lasts, if it's good, it only lasts a little while. You go out and have a meal, 2 people, 100 euros, 75 euros. For 15 euros, you can buy something that really kind of makes you feel good, that you can put on over and over again. So I feel like, and it's also a great gift, so if you can make somebody feel better, if they're in a hospital and they're not feeling well, if they just lost their job, if they're struggling with depression, or whatever. If it's a kid, we have a whole children's series. And so one of our fastest growing areas is children's music, and we have sourced a lot of music from around the world that sometimes is made for kids and sometimes is made for adults, but kids really like. So an album like Picnic Playground, European Playground, African Playground, those albums really are good. I mean, parents like them, kids like them. So I think the crisis is there. Record stores are closing, cutting back. We also try to sell our CDs in other ways. You know, we try to sell them through bookstores, museum shops, gift stores, health food stores, places where people can hear the music. And hopefully...
maybe there's a
yeah.
a record to it.
What's that?
Maybe there's a,
yeah.
a record.
Yeah. They're doing an audition.
So, carry
Yeah.
on, try.
No, it's always...
Faut tourner les caméras. 2 secondes.
Wow.
Wow.
Anyways, yeah, so it's not an easy time, and I feel badly for a lot of the record stores that are closing, but because a lot of record stores are closing, I'm finding that some bookstores, for instance, are more willing to fill the gap and actually take in CDs, you know, because the independent store has closed down near them, or the big record store has cut back and is no longer carrying much selection. And I find that our compilations are a great way of introducing people to artists. So someone might discover an artist like Habib Kwate or, you know, Isa Bagayogo or, you know, any number of artists on one of the Putumayo collections, and then they can go and dig deeper. They could travel to the country. They could be interested in, who knows, taking musical classes. There are so many things that can happen simply by hearing something that, a song or an album that people really love. So I feel like, you know, it's a transitional period. The internet is also, we don't do downloads at this point. We'd like to start a little bit next year, testing the waters. But really what we want to do is offer a package, music, culture, travel, takes people on a journey, guaranteed to make you feel good, 15 euros, hopefully that's a good value.
Okay, so you said that you're living in New Orleans from a long time?
About 5 years.
5 years, it was just...
About a year before Katrina.
A year, okay. So you really see these things and
Yeah.
The city go down and maybe is growing up once more?
Well, New Orleans is a really unbelievable place. It's, in a way, I like to call it the heart and soul of America, because it's the place where jazz began. It's kind of the major trading port with the Mississippi and America. Cotton and sugar came up. It was like, it's called the northernmost city of the Caribbean. It's a melting pot of French, Spanish, Caribbean, African cultures. And so because of the way New Orleans has been essentially preserved, the old French Quarter, people really value it, and people who live there value it. So even though there was a very slow response by the US government, I mean, I remember talking to the French ambassador. The French contributed tremendously. Everyone, you know, really from around the world, there was a huge amount of support. And so it's helped, it's been slow, but musicians now are back, probably 75%, 80% of the musicians are back. You know, housing is developing. It's a little slow with housing development. But the whole musical scene, if you came down now, you wouldn't even realize that there was anything that had happened because it's so rich. It's so deep. You know, it's like people say, you can't really survive in New Orleans as a musician if you're a piano player or you're a trumpet player unless you're great. I mean, there are just too many really good musicians to survive just being an okay musician. So the level, the caliber of musicianship is just unbelievable. We did an album called New Orleans. We did a New Orleans Christmas album. It's just endless, the amount of material that's available. We have an album coming out next year called Rhythm and Blues. Several of the songs come from New Orleans. We did an album, Women of Jazz, and now Jazz Around the World. I mean, there's so much that kind of originates. Jazz and blues, gospel, rhythm and blues, a lot of it just really began there. And people like Fats Domino are still alive and performing.
One silly question. Did you think one day to do a record about electronic music around the world?
About what?
Electronic music around the world.
Well, you know, we did an album called World Lounge, which is a little, you know, it's like an accent of electronica. You know, it's lounge music more. And we did a kind of world groove album that has more dance beats. But I'm also very concerned about trying to find what I call universal music. People, you know, like the spirit of Bob Marley. We're doing an album actually next year that's coming out that includes a lot of songs of Bob Marley by artists around the world. And I love elements of electronica, but I'm not like into the really pounding stuff. So we probably will do another one, but it's not going to be, you know, true, you know, intense electronica. But I think World Lounge is a really nice CD, and World Groove is a really good CD. So we're actually talking about doing a French electronica one. Talking about. We haven't decided to do it, but
Okay.
if you have any suggestions, let us know.
Thank you. I can seriously think about it.
Yeah.
And what is is there a secret project you can talk a bit of? Who was secret last year? He is no more, but not really true today.
I mean, what we're trying to do also is to expand beyond music as well. So when you asked about what's happening with music, I mean, we feel there's a future for CDs, and there's a digital future. Well, we're working on a couple of book projects beyond music that will incorporate elements of music. So one is a storybook for children with music from around the world. Another is a kind of travel meets food with music. So it will be a project that really combines travel, photography, food, and elements of music. Those are two projects that are really important. Working on our first DVD. So we did a kind of promotional DVD, but not really a normal for sale DVD. So with music videos and concert footage and stuff like that. So those are things that are, you know, they're not secret, but we're looking for material for all of them.
And my last question would be, what is the main message today about Putumayo you want to carry on?
Well, you know, there are several things that we try to do with the label. We want to take people on a journey that is, as we say, guaranteed to make them feel good. Want them to discover other countries and cultures. We ultimately believe that, you know, you can learn and be open to seeing the more positive side of those cultures. As I said when we started talking, you know, there's poverty, disease, war, and music helps people rise above their daily problems. So what we're doing is trying to distill that positive side of you know, kind of in these Putumayo CDs of what's going on in cultures that traditionally aren't known for positive things, but they have rich cultures, and we want to display that, show that. That's really, you know, a big part of our focus. Obviously, we contribute to charities, so we want to raise awareness for a lot of the nonprofits that work in these communities. So it's a little bit of awareness. It's about making people feel good. It's about kind of bringing back some of the money to the communities where the music comes from, helping the artists, all in one pack, taking a journey, all in one package.
Okay, thank you, Bram.
Thank you.